Hey guys, so what we've got going on today in our next section is all about the Crusades. So I've told you guys before that typically wars are fought over either religion or land, and sometimes both. That's what's going on in this case here. So the Crusades are actually going to be fought over the Holy Land, which is in the Middle East. It includes the city of Jerusalem, and I've got a map to show you in just a few minutes. So for starters, we are going to be doing cause and effect here. So you can see the white arrows that are pointing towards the Crusades. Those are going to be the causes, and then everything that's coming off of it, those are all going to be the effects that are going on from the Crusades. So for starters, one of the very first causes that we have is that the Pope is going to get involved. So, of course, the Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church. And one of the things that is happening during this time is that we will actually see that some of the knights have started to fight amongst themselves. So they aren't working together per se. They're fighting amongst themselves a lot. And so the Pope wants to stop all of that fighting. He wants that to definitely end. And so he's trying to figure out ways that he can get the knights to stop fighting amongst themselves because that's creating some other problems going forward. Our second cause of the Crusades comes from actually an invasion in the Holy Land. So let's see if I can switch here. Switch slides. So this is a map out of your book. This is not working. Here we go. Okay, so here is a map from your book that actually is going to show what's going on during the Crusades. So the Crusades are actually going to last for a considerable amount of time. If you check this out right here, it's about 100 years that they are going to last. There are 4 major Crusades, and this is very time consuming because these knights are coming to fight from all the way over here. So England is right here, and we've also got France. Everything in this Holy Roman Empire, basically the Pope is kind of in charge of all of this, and he's going to send people from here way over down here to the Holy Land. So this box right here is actually a blow up of this little box right here so that we can see a little bit better. We are definitely going to be fighting over the city of Jerusalem and sort of this area that you see right here. So you can see the distance that these knights are actually going to be traveling in order to get all the way over here to fight. So what's going to happen is the Seljuk Turks, they come from Turkey, that's this peninsula right here, they're going to invade the Holy Land. So you can kind of see they're very close to it versus these countries who are all the way over here, and they're going to invade the Holy Land. So this is our second cause of the Crusades. So if we go back here, Turks invaded the Holy Land. In addition, there's some other issues that are going on for the Pope. There actually has been a sort of split in the church. We call it a schism right here. So the church is kind of split in half. Partly because there's some corruption going on. We've already discussed that a little bit. But the Pope, he thinks if I can get all of these Christian knights to fight together against a different religion, because they're going to be fighting against the Muslims, maybe I can heal this problem that's going on. So this is sort of a plan he's got that will incorporate this part over here to end the fighting, but also to heal this schism that we have in the church itself. Plus, he wants more power, because let's face it, all of these people we've talked about pretty much so far want more power. So if he can be the one to get the Holy Land back, he would be very, very powerful. So he basically is going to convince these people. I'm going to read you a piece out of your book here. Pope Urban II, that's the guy, he is convincing these knights that they need to come and fight for him. And in doing so, he gives a very, very good speech where he's convincing people that he says, "From Jerusalem and the city of Constantinople comes a very grievous report. An accursed race has violently invaded the lands of those Christians and has depopulated them by pillage and fire. So depopulated, killed the people living there, the Christians living there specifically is what he's saying. And then he describes it as using pillage and fire. So as he's giving this speech, thousands of knights who have come to listen to him start cheering and God wills it and we must go. So the Pope has definitely got sort of what he is hoping for there. Now, in doing so, he basically has convinced these knights that they're going to go away and come back as war heroes. And so some of the knights sign up to do this because they want that fame. They want that glory when they come home from fighting. Some of them hope that when they go and fight, if they win, they get to bring like gold and jewels and other things home. Because a lot of times whenever you win, you get to take stuff from the enemy. Sometimes it's land, sometimes it's stuff. In this case, they're thinking they're going to get stuff. And so some of these knights are actually joining this war, not necessarily because they're Christians fighting a different religion or because it's holy land to them that's been taken over. They just want fame and fortune. So, that's how that goes. So the Crusades will rage on, and as we mentioned, we will see them and their trek. The very first crusade is the one in purple, and you can see that this is really just showing the journey to get from their homeland over here in Western Europe all the way to the Holy Land. It is time consuming. You can see in this third crusade, the English actually sail right along the coast all the way across here, pick up some extra people this way, and then sail this direction instead of going over land. Although these people definitely go overland. So there are 4 main crusades, like I mentioned. You can see on this map that the land that is predominantly Muslim when this started in 1095, that's shaded in the sort of mustard color. Everything else was Christian land at this time. And you can see that they're definitely going to have some issues with each other. So as their crusades rage on, we'll start with the very first one. It's not going to go super great, really, for anyone, because it's war. In fact, when these knights get there, hoping for this really quick victory and all this fame and war glory when they come home, a lot of them don't ever come home. So that doesn't work out for them in any way, because obviously war's not good, right? It's never good. Okay, so the goal, of course, is to push the Muslim Turks out of the Holy Land. That's the goal. The Christian knights are going to capture Jerusalem in 1099. When they win the city of Jerusalem in 1099, they will go in and slaughter everybody who's not Christian. So this included the Muslims that were there and the Jewish people who were there, because this is considered a holy place for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All 3 of those consider Jerusalem, even to this day, to be a holy place for their city. So, that being said, there were residents who lived there, who were Muslims, Christians, and Jews, and basically the Christian knights kill everybody who's there who was not a Christian. So that's sort of not Christian-like. The Crusades are still going to continue after that. So we're going to have the first crusade, the Christians won. As we go through, the Muslims will come back and attack again. And they are trying to get rid of all of the little outposts that are sort of surrounding Jerusalem. They think that if they can destroy those, then likely they'll be able to come in and actually capture Jerusalem. In 1187, so our second one, we are actually going to see that the Muslims are going to be victorious here. They have a leader named Salah ad-Din. He was known to the Europeans as actually being not a terrible, horrible guy. He is definitely not going to come in and kill everybody. So he is actually going to be the victor in the second crusade, and he will be there for the third crusade, which he also wins. So the Christians take the first one, the Muslims take the second and third crusades. So the Christians are trying to retake the city, but the Muslims hold on. Now, when Salah ad-Din wins that third crusade, he actually opens the doors to the city for Christians to come in and worship because he knows that it's a holy city to them. And so that's very different than what we saw in the First Crusade for the third. So while he wins, he doesn't come through and kill all the Christians there. He says, please come. This is a holy city, and we all need to be able to worship here. The Fourth Crusade is going to create some problems for the Christians because the knights have sort of gone back. These are obviously not all the same knights because they're actually spread out over 100 years. But what's going to happen is that those knights have sort of gone back to that whole fighting amongst themselves thing. And so trying to unite them together to be able to fight in the Crusades doesn't happen. And so they're very disorganized by the Fourth Crusade, and it is really easy for the Muslims to overrun those Christian outposts I mentioned, and then they can just keep the city. So in the end, this is the way that the Crusades fall. The Christians only win the first one and are not successful at pushing the Muslims out of the holy city for them. Eventually, the city is going to become the focus of a lot of racial tensions. It's still an issue today in some cases. So this is a legacy that goes all the way back to this time period as to what was actually happening. So we're going to stop this video here with the causes, and then the next one we'll go through the effects of the Crusades.